And I would add, first off, I agree with Dr. Chapman that there is a real need for partnership and collaboration, and it needs to cross in and out of the education space. When we're looking at workforce development, oftentimes as educators, we've all been in, those of you who are educators in the room, have probably experienced a similar phenomenon that I've had numerous times during my career, where I've been told we need to do more to listen to business and industry and make sure that we're responding to the needs and we're preparing our students for the workforce. And certainly that is true, but it needs to be a two-way conversation. Rarely have I been in a situation where people in business and industry have reached out to us and say, what is it that you need, and what do we need to do to make sure that we have a seamless system? I think as much as it's completely appropriate, and of course with the coming of Intel and the continued expansion of the Central Ohio economy, making sure that we have students who are graduating from our schools who are college and career ready, pursuing a diversity of paths, whether that takes them into highly skilled jobs that require PhDs or into the trades or whatever that happens to be, or into education, because there's a real need to attract and retain quality people into the education workforce. Let's not lose sight of our purpose. So education certainly is critical for workforce development, but that's not our purpose as educators. I went into social studies education 32 years ago because I wanted my students to be critical thinkers, problem solvers, decision makers, so that they could be effective citizens in our democracy. Let's never lose sight of the important role that public education plays in serving as the backbone to our democracy. And part of that is ensuring that we're giving students opportunities for meaningful engagement, to really tap into their skills, their talents, and to be fully prepared, not just for a future world, but also have a positive experience while they're students in schools. And all of that builds to, again, the purpose, which is creating lifelong learners. If we want to have a thriving future as a state, we need to make sure that we're doing everything possible when policy decisions are being made to move us towards that end. And far too often, especially over the last 20 years since No Child Left Behind and the obsession with standardized testing and test label punish and all of this focus on accountability and choice, and I know, Dr. Zellman, you've talked about a lot of this in your book, and we're going to hear more about it. But so many of those policy decisions have moved us away from that. And so perhaps, and again, I agree with Dr. Zellman that this was fundamentally a power issue. It was a question, the restructuring was really about who gets to make the decisions. Does the governor get more power or less power? And what does that look like for the state board? And we have all kinds of concerns about it. But I hope that this, if it is a reset, I hope it's an opportunity for all of us collaboratively to engage in this conversation about where do we really want to go in our future, and how do we engage students and learners to create lifelong learners.